Hi, this is Scott. I'm the founder and CEO of Guru. Catch me on this week's episode of Jesse T's show.
Scott Lee, welcome to the Jesse T show, brother.
Hey, how are you?
Man, if I was any better, I'd be twins. Have you heard that before?
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Yeah, great to have you, man. I know this has been in the making in terms of you being on the show, and I'm glad you could get on and wanted to connect with you and hear a little bit more about your story, your journey, your mission, and what you got going on in the world. So if you could just give us a little context into your background and who you are and what you do.
Yeah, of course. My name is Scott. I'm the founder and CEO of Guru. I started Guru a little over 5 years ago. I came to the US when I was in high school. And I started my nonprofit helping underserved children with English Volunteer. I started my nonprofit then. And then I went to Colombia. After my sophomore year, I was served in the Army for 2 years in Missile Command as a squad leader. Came back after I graduated, worked briefly at JP Morgan, and then started this journey. So yeah, I'm happy to chat more about what we're building and what we're doing right now.
Hell yeah, brother. Real quick, what were you doing at JP Morgan?
I was at the Chief Investment Office, working as a treasury analyst, but I was only there for a year. I think it was a good confirmation that, I'm an entrepreneur. At Columbia, so many of my friends went to finance, consulting, and I never worked at corporate. After the Army, I briefly started my small niche online fashion commerce. So,
Hell yeah.
I wanted to have that experience, and I think that was good. I loved it, but I met wonderful people. Actually, I met a few angel investors at JPM. But yeah, it was a good confirmation that I'm an entrepreneur.
I'm familiar with them to a degree. I'm in the wealth management business, but I'm independent and I'm an investment advisor as a fiduciary. So I don't sell for commissions, products or services. But it's interesting being in that same kind of background. So with this fashion line that you I guess, did you design it? Did you create it? Or did you just kind of like, arbitrage it where you picked it up somewhere and sold it somewhere? Talk about that a little. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was arbitrage, because I had I didn't have that much money after the Army. So, there was like in Saks Fifth Avenue, there's like 30%, 6% off in Chanel shoes. And in Asia, there's no sale whatsoever. So we built like a blog creating interesting, topics and places in New York City. And then we sold it to, Korean moms. And it was great. It was with just one of my friend and just two of us packaging, like marketing and customer service. We sometimes wake up at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. because of the time difference, and it was a good learning experience because I'm not a fashionable guy. I don't know you guys see this, but I'm wearing a t-shirt every day. People ask me like, do you have one t-shirt? No, I do have multiple t-shirts. Thank you, but but I'm definitely not so interested in fashion. So that's what I learned. Like, hey, you have to do what you're passionate about. But I loved something that building from the scratch. It was a great experience. Definitely don't regret it at all. And I highly recommend people who wanted to start something, from scratch. You wanted to do something, doesn't really have a big downside, so that that you are entrepreneur type of person.
So where did you get the idea for arbitrage? Did you have a thought leader like Gary Vee or someone who was telling you how to do this, or did you just kind of innately figure it out?
I was just thinking about it because I was taking classes, and Columbia classes, classes at Columbia is pretty demanding. And I was just thinking about what would be good things to do except education, because I was tutoring. I was very involved in education a lot before. So, I was thinking about a few different ways, and I thought this can be a good ways to do it, because the things that I buy, like shoes, I can return them. So basically the risk was very minimal. So I thought it was interesting thing to do, and there was a demand for it. So yeah, I don't know. I was just brainstorming with my friend, and that just came up, and then okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Was it just shoes or also like apparel?
It was mainly shoes, but there's a few different items. But Yeah, a long time ago. It was
Were
a
you
long time,
dealing with
but
like
yeah.
Jordans or Yeezys, or what were you dealing with?
Huh?
What kind of sneakers or shoes were you dealing in?
It was like luxury shoes, like sandals, like whatever, like Chanel, good brand. There's sometimes in 10th floor, they're like huge discount, like 60% discount, 30%. Yeah, that's huge. I didn't even know, it was all women's shoes. So, and what I quickly realized, like when I was doing it, Korean moms, their size, the most popular size are 6.57. They like black shoes somehow, all black. So those sales reps, I'm become their VIP. I'm like, oh wow, this guy's buying so many. What is he doing? And before it was on the shelf because they're commission based. So they text me like, oh, okay, 6.57 black shoes, Scott. And like, okay, cool. And then I got the items beforehand. So and then those items sell very quickly. They love it, and it's much cheaper too. So yeah, it was a good experience, definitely. Yeah,
Were you doing this online over there, or was this in person?
all online, all
Okay.
online, because the customers are all in Korea. So
So all over Korea, you find, and how are you finding these clients? Were you putting out ads? Were you targeting? Like, how are you selling these?
so in Korea, it's like a neighbor. It's like a Google in Korea. And there are we posted a lot of interesting blogs about like New York City, dessert places, cute places, and we invite a lot of like neighbors. Like in Neighbor, it's called Neighbors. So we invited a lot. So that drove a lot of traffic, and I think that a lot of Korean moms really liked our content. We sold very interesting items first, not too expensive, and then yeah, we got some traffic. So when they type Chanel shoes, then our blog popped up. So that really helped us a lot. Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. And what was the next iteration in your entrepreneurial path? What came after that?
After that, it was JP Morgan, and then it was Guru. That was like 6 years. I'm not that old, so 6 years. That's a lot. It was like my third venture. Yeah, Guru was definitely so first nonprofit, second then niche e-commerce, and then the Guru was my third venture. Yeah,
And
sure.
is it Guru?
Yep,
What
GOOROO.
what is Guru? What do you do there?
It's an education technology company. We started as Uber for tutors, and we're based in New York City. We have offices in Shanghai and Jakarta. And after COVID, I think millions of families are struggling, and students are also having a difficult time learning as well. So we launched Guru Courses, which is like a Netflix of educational content, so that we can support them learn better. We have a great, amazing instructors in our community, and so we will really want to help them as much as possible. And it's 1-for-1 for one group pass, which is unlimited access to all the educational content we're donating to underserved children as well.
Unbelievable. Where did this idea come from? And talk about the beginnings of building the company.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Korea. In Korea, when you walk down the street there, you can see so many tutoring centers. It's like tutoring centers are part of students' life. It's there are so many tutoring centers all over the country. So when I came to the US, I was a bit shocked. It was so hard to find a tutor because after I came back from the army, I didn't study for 2 years. My brain was frozen and I didn't speak English. So I was struggling with very high level math. I was majoring in operations research. And it was very, very difficult for me to find a tutor. And there's so many smart people and smart instructors in the US. So I found that discrepancy and inefficiency there. So, when I was thinking about it, I thought that, okay, I love marketplace. I love connecting people. And so, why not start Uber for tutors? At that time, I was too overly confident. I was like, oh, let's just build an app.
Little hubris.
Yeah, much, much harder than I thought. And, I learned a lot over 5 years for sure.
So you got started with this specific endeavor 5 years ago. How long did it take before you really started noticing traction with even sales or people buying into the ideology of it?
Yeah, I mean, first, the most important part is tutors, right? And the problem is you don't have any students. How can it's chicken and the egg problem. And so, we started as a two-bedroom apartment nearby Columbia. And then, we went to the campus, and I still remember one parent asking for a chemistry tutor, and we had no chemistry tutor. So I was like going into campus, going out the flyers, asking a bunch of people. And,
Finding
it
the
was
smartest chem student you could.
yeah, it was, I still remember go to law school. I was like someone asking for LSAT. I was like, oh my God, we don't have LSAT tutors. So let's just randomly go to law school and asking around and yeah, posting in Facebook where I thought of it. And I think, even expanding to Boston, you're originally from Boston. So like really finding tutors in Boston was so hard. We sent all the LinkedIn messages to all the tutors in Boston, cold message them. And I'm so thankful now. There's so many amazing tutors just applying to us, and I'm so thankful for that. And all of them are from referrals or Google search, or because we don't like pay for that, recruiting tutors. So we treat them really well. We treat them with respect, because I still remember the first time they're trying to look for those tutors, and so I'm so thankful to have them. Some of them been with us since day one.
Wow.
We launched, yeah. So, and that's how we are able to build group courses so quickly. So I'm very, very thankful for that.
So you saw a need, a pain point in the market. You saw a way to capitalize on it. How has the process of going to market been in terms of, you got the idea, you see the pain point, and delivering to the end user? How's that experience been, and how did it, in terms of trajectory of just sales and growth of the company, how's it been for the last 5 years?
We definitely had to hustle in the beginning. As I mentioned, we even put flyers on the bathrooms because no one know about Guru, and at the time in the beginning we were a startup, so we did a lot, and I visited a lot of parents' apartments. We used Craigslist posts, like and then they connected us. It came to my cell phone, and I texted them, and some of them surprisingly become our investors too, which is crazy in New York City. And so, initially building the network of parents, working with school counselors, it was a great. I mean, it was a lot, but at the same time, it was building relationships, right? And then they talk to other friends. So I think it's been wonderful journey. And now after COVID, we transitioned 100% to virtual, and we're giving 20% discount because a lot of families are impacted. And we have families in China wanted to get assistance from us. So, I think it's been amazing journey. I can't believe it's been over 5 years. A lot of referrals we always appreciate referrals. That means that we're doing a great service. And so, yeah, I mean, we believe in lifelong, learning. And that's why we transitioned to subscription like a little over 2 years ago. And I think it's been a great success. And so, we are trying to help them as much as possible. And our team is fantastic. And we're trying to figure out what will be the best way for us to really unlock their potential.
Unbelievable. So this thirst and this need for learning, where did that come from for you?
Huh?
Where did your personal thirst and zest for learning come from?
I think my grandparents came from North Korea, and my father, was living with 6 other siblings in a one small room. And his goal always told me like eat 3 meals a day. It was right after Korean War, so everyone was struggling. And so my father really sacrificed himself to, help his siblings younger. He was the oldest son. And so, my parents both had that thirst. So they invested so much. I was so fortunate. And he is the most persistent guy I've ever known. And, he worked really hard. He never gave up. He had so many difficult times. And, I saw that. And he always read newspapers really early in the morning. Really, I was so fortunate. Even come to the US, have a great education in Connecticut. So I think I was so blessed to have this amazing instructors and mentors, friends throughout my journey, even in the army. I quickly realized there's so many soldiers who are so much smarter than me, more diligent, persistent, but I just given amazing opportunity to study in the US. US is the most blessed country in the world.
I would agree.
Which is true. And I'm so thankful to just have an opportunity to dream big in New York City and have amazing, team members, investors, and our community of instructors and students. And so, I think I think it's all about perspective, right? It's all about, the perspective that you can learn from anywhere and anyone. And I think that's so important. For me in the Army, when I was in lowest rank, we had to wake up when it was snowing because we had 60 missile and missile command. So we literally, because only got paid $80 per month. It's a lot more now in Korea because it was a huge issue because we are so treated so poorly. And we just woke up until the snow stopped because we had to clean the road.
Yeah.
And it was just nonstop cleaning the snow. I'm like, oh my God, when is it gonna stop? But the thing is, I learned a lot from a lot of experience in the Army. And it was crazy too. In 6 a.m., it was freezing cold. It was in the mountain, and I was like picking up the rock so that the higher star soldier can play soccer.
Wow.
So that's just a few examples. I don't want to go on and on because it's gonna be all about my Army experience. I don't want to. I love my country, but it's you can whine and you can complain, or you can try to learn something from it. And you're in the Navy too, so maybe we can have a similar points about that. But life is all about what kind of perspective you have.
It absolutely
and I think that's so important.
One of my biggest perspective shifts and paradigm shifts came over the last few years, more than a few years, but I've held death in my hands twice. I've held my firstborn daughter after she was 7 days old. She passed away. And then my mom, who we talked about, she passed away from cancer. I was by her side and held her hand until she passed away. And those two moments taught me so much about the profoundness and the importance of time. And time is the most important commodity we'll ever have that we'll never get back. Once a second's spent, you can't go back. You could always go back and make money if you've lost it. You can always go back and repair relationships potentially if they're not completely burnt, but you can't create more time. And the perspective that I was given and the value I place on time is indescribable. There's a Stoic philosophy that talks about time, and it's under the guise of what's called memento mori. Memento mori states, know that you're mortal, know that you're going to die, but let that be the only motivation you need to live a life well lived. So if you had the knowledge of your own death in your mind, saying, because a lot of people don't think this way. A lot of people think they have endless amounts of time. A lot of people think that, they're going to live forever, but life is fleeting and it can happen in a second. And you've probably seen this to a degree. I mean, just being in the military, and maybe if you weren't any war-torn conflict, but you're under the premise of potential loss of life if you're in the military. And my question becomes for you, it was the South Korean Army, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there a draft? Is there something like, I know I have a lot of friends from Israel where they're mandatory, they have to do time in the Army because their country is so small.
Yeah.
Is it similar to that?
Yep. If you're healthy, if you're older than, I think 18 years old, you can choose. You usually go when you're 21, 22, and then you have to serve for 2 years. Now, I think it's a little bit shorter now, but yeah, it's a draft system.
And so I know over in Israel, it's like they do 3 years for guys. They were doing 2 years for girls, but then I think they've just evened it out. So it's about 3 years each, but it's incredible. And I really do think that the perspective that you have, even just in service and being of service and being in a team and working together towards a common goal really matters. And so I had a question about North Korea. Have you been there before?
No.
I don't know how it works. I don't know if you can go, if you're in South Korea, can you just not go into North Korea?
Yeah, except few special occasions. It's, it's blocked. It's DMZ, and then DMZ zone. And, I think, but we've been in the same country for thousands of years. And like Western Germany, Eastern Germany, I do believe that we will be united, hopefully soon. but I think in a peaceful way. And I think, I hope that it happens soon because so many people there are struggling right now. It's an unfair system. So, for example, like the soldier, it's only 2 years. In North Korea, it's over 10 years.
Wow.
Crazy. And I think that, as you know, the system is broken completely. And so I hope that, we will be reunited soon peacefully. And so we can really rescue so many students who are struggling there.
So with North Korea, your grandfather was from there. Was he able to leave North Korea?
Yeah, so we used to be a one country, so he thought that after Korean War we will be reunited. So he even left his first son there.
Wow.
And then came down. A lot of family we were separated because of Korean War, and he left his son to the relative's house, and then he came down with his wife, and then it just got blocked. And so they tried to find him a few times, but I think he passed away. So yeah, a lot, and that's just normal. It happens all the time, and probably I never spoken about that to my grandparents, but they probably miss him so much and maybe feel guilty, and so forth. But it's a tragedy, happened for our country.
Incredible. That's generational trauma.
It is, yeah.
And so did he? Because I don't know anything about the dynamics outside of just very little when it comes to North and South Korea. And are there people that are able to quote unquote escape, like leave North Korea, or are they kind of like locked in?
A lot of people leave, escape to not in DMZ because it's so difficult. They usually escape to China. But I heard because there are a lot of people who know that not a lot of North Koreans, bribe the soldiers and escape, and then they do sex trafficking.
Wow,
huge issues there because they wanted to manipulate, them, because they know that if they get caught, then they go back to North Korea and they're in a huge trouble. And so it's a huge problem in that around there. So some people who are very, very lucky even escaped and go to embassy and come to Korea. They're very, very lucky people. Some people are really, really having a tough time living and trying to hide from the North Korean government and so forth. Yeah, big issue.
Are you in contact with anybody that's still kind of landlocked there? Like, do you have any family members that you communicate with, or is that even hard to do?
It's impossible.
Really?
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. I mean, we tried to find his son, and I think their son, which is my father's sibling, but they failed, and it's not possible. I think. It's such a tragedy, right?
Is it the communication systems? Is there just like, because they control, is there no internet, like where it's all intranet, so to speak, up there where you can't really connect to the outside world? Is it a communication?
Yeah, I mean, North Korea, they're all blocking everything.
Wow.
They don't want to, because the thing is, they're brainwashing people that Kim Jong-un is like the king. I mean, right?
The leader.
Yeah, and it's Kim Il-sung, which is the current Kim Jong-un's grandfather's regime. It's like a religion. They're brainwashing them since they're born. So, they want to block everything, internet and everything.
Wow.
So that, because if they do internet, whatever, they can search everything and they will figure out it's all a lie.
Create free thinkers.
Yeah. So they will tell people like, they're like South Korea is evil, USA is evil, whatever, to make sure that they can control the people.
Propaganda.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
It's like psyops in the military. I was talking to someone who's he's in marketing now, but he was in the German army and he worked in psyops, and psyops is just marketing for the military, but it's like, it's propaganda, it's misinformation, it's getting people to believe one thing versus the other. It's getting people to act and respond based on information. It sounds like it's a complete stronghold, man. And I had no idea. This is a beautiful perspective it's the first time I'm having a conversation with a human being about how rough it really is. And it's eye opening, man. And hopefully, like you said, they come to a peaceful transition and open up borders and become one country again. And how does that happen? Is there any possibility? Is there any conversations happening right now where that looks like it might happen sooner than later?
It's a confidential information. As it's not in the U.S. and any countries, it's a lot of the citizens are only limited to the information that is public, and a lot of times it's we don't know much information. That kind of sensitive information is very, very confidential. So I'm not too sure. I hope so. I hope that our country and even any countries can focus on the things that it means a lot to them, not the things that because the media and everything try to sway around so that they can only see the things that they want them to see.
Yes.
But I think it's really important to be objective, caring about the people and the community. And I think for Korea, I think that's a very, very important issue. But the thing is, the unemployment rate, there are a lot of issues going on, especially because of COVID. And so a lot of Koreans think that it's a luxury for us to even think about reunification. Because if you look at Germany, they suffered for many years to come back to normal, because they had to invest a lot in East Germany. So, but I think we should think ahead of the time, and we should, look at in the long term. And especially we should think about the people who are really, really struggling and dying because of this broken system in North Korea.
Incredible, man. Yeah, we need to unite finally as a human race, get everything else in line to be able to head towards that common goal, man. But kind of switching gears a little bit, I'm seeing some background stuff. And are you big in your faith with Christianity? It looks like.
Yes, I'm a Christian.
I see the just kind of looks like you get some stuff prepped for Easter potentially over there on the chairs, and some books and some different things back there. Is this play into your business at all? Is it like a conscious led, spiritually led business, or is this just for you personally?
If you're a Christian, we believe that Jesus is within you, and we believe that, the verse, Jesus is the way and the truth and the life, to only get to God. And, I think God, as I grow more intimate with God, and especially during COVID, it's very important for me to, pray and also ask God for wisdom. And, I think spreading gospel through education is extremely important. And so, I think hopefully through group courses, we'll be able to do that more. But yeah, I think it's very, very important. And I think we have to also remember how United States, the Pilgrims came, and then how it all started. We should never forget the beginning. And I think that's why this in the US is so blessed, especially because the foundation of the US is coming from the Pilgrims and the Christianity.
Yep.
And so I think it's very unfortunate that in school we cannot even talk about Christianity. It's very, very unfortunate. And I think that, I hope that we can do something about that.
Yeah, they use the excuse of separation of church and state, right? And if you believe in God, God is with you wherever you are, right? And
yeah,
God is within you, and you don't need a church, quote unquote, to worship. God's everywhere. And so we've seen some interesting things, especially this year with COVID, and with how certain jurisdictions and governments, local, federal, state, all these different places put different mandates, and a lot of it, things that we find in the Constitution that you're not supposed to do that to, right? Freedom to worship, freedom of speech, all these things. Those were put in question heavily this year. People were getting arrested for congregating to go worship, because you weren't supposed to assemble, or you weren't supposed to be here, or social distancing, whatever it was. And that's in direct conflict with our, Constitution. And so what are your thoughts on some of the things that you've seen during COVID in terms of, it could be that, it could be, some of the issues with businesses, especially in New York. A lot of businesses have been forced to shut down. Like, what are some of the things that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, we have to love our neighbors and care about our neighbors. And I think COVID, if you have to think about that, you can really kill your neighbors if you are not cautious. So I think that we have to be mindful. It's not your intention, but it's so contagious that, if you get COVID, but you might not have any symptoms, but you might affect people who have lung problems, who are older.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I think it's very simple. Wear masks and wash your hands and just be careful. I think that's so important. And so I think we just have to be really mindful of not just about your family, but also our neighbors around us. And I think even after we get vaccinated, I think we should continue with that, because if you think about it, one mistake, if you just don't wear a mask, if you somehow got COVID, you might really impact someone else's life forever.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm a bit shocked, actually, because I love America. Half of my life I live in the US. I really hope that we can really recover soon, but we just have to be more mindful of our neighbors. And, I just don't want people to die, or suffered from this. And I think that correlates to business, right? So I hope that the America, it's a beautiful country, it's a blessed country. I hope that we can really recover soon and less people die because of COVID.
Have you been hit personally in any of your friends or family circle with anyone that got COVID?
Thankfully, I think Korea has been doing a great job because it's such a tight country. And so I think everyone in Korea wearing masks, which is great. And so I'm thankful my family is in Korea. I think in the US, our team's been healthy. I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, I think it's just when I see the COVID cases, it's just skyrocketing. I was so in holiday season.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, it's just unbelievable, So I just hope that we can really go down to the level that we saw, during summer, and so everyone can go back to normal life, especially after majority of the citizens are vaccinated.
Yeah, it's an interesting time of a period of darkness right now. With pandemic, with politics, with big media and news organizations that are disseminating information differently. But the beautiful thing, and this is something that I'm working on personally outside of my business podcast, there's many people that are bringing light to the world too. And so with the darkness, you're getting profound light, and you're getting leadership and people that are, sharing ideas to help spiritual growth and personal growth and business. And, case in point, there's one guy, and he's a little bit out there, but he's doing a great job. He's the founder of Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy. And he's got this Barstool fund that's raised over $30 million, and he's kept hundreds of businesses in business. And started from, he does this thing called Pizza Review, and he's got a bunch of stuff going on. But one of the things he does is a pizza review. And basically he would go into a pizza shop, come out with a pizza slice, have his guy shooting the video, and he would rate the pizza. And he's done hundreds of these. And so he grew a real affinity for like the local business owner, the local business person. And then once he saw that, because he's in a position where like basically, he makes markets, like whatever he says, people follow him to a degree. And he's put together this Barstool fund that's literally like, he'll call someone up on a FaceTime, and you can see this on his Instagram. And as soon as they see him now, like they know that they've kind of been saved with their business. Like this guy's going to have money to keep these businesses around. So there is a lot of beautiful light amidst the darkness right now. And again, whether it's Jesus, whether it's whatever you believe in, there's a lot of spirituality that's going on right now. And it's for a reason. There's a frequency and a vibration that's happening to elevate our consciousness. So I think that even with all the darkness, there's a lot of light that's going on too.
Definitely. I mean, it's just not in the media. A lot of people are helping their neighbors around them. There are so many amazing people. I'm hopeful that so many people during this tough time are standing up and really really trying to be supportive. And so yeah, I think we should be positive, and be mindful how we can be helpful and how we can be more gracious for our neighbors who are struggling, and not just within US but globally, right? So
without question. And so
yeah.
looking ahead to the future for Guru, where do you see the business, the movement heading? When all's said and done, where do you think it's going to land in terms of the impact, the growth, the lives that are touched?
Yeah, a lot of students are struggling, so that's why we wanted to go above and beyond tutoring, because not all students can afford tutoring, obviously. Right. And so I think Guru Courses was a great movement for us to make education more accessible. And now we're going towards Guru After School, Guru Clubs, which is going to be more engaging and fun, and so we have a very dynamic and passionate and motivated team who really cares about education and learning. And so we will keep trying to, brainstorm and figure out how we can be mindful of global learners to really unlock their potential. And especially because the future of education should focus on the things that only human can do, because AI is advancing so quickly, replace so many, jobs that are repetitive. And
yes.
So what are the things that only human can do? So one size fit all system really doesn't work. It just, that was happening since Industrial Revolution. And so how can we really ask our students what are their, real unique talent they are born with? What are their mission, right? And so I think that's very important to develop the early age. And, we wanted to use technology to make it more accessible. And so, yeah, we will try to, we will put a lot of effort to develop and really make that happen.
Wonderful, brother. And then one last thing, it would kind of button it all together in this theme of learning and tutoring and teaching and being a student. Where do you consume information when you want to grow? Obviously, we talked about the spirituality piece and you focus there, but when it comes to like business, relationships, health and wellness, who are some of the thought leaders, the books or podcasts that you dive into?
Honestly, Bible has all the answer. I'm just being very honest with you. Proverbs, how Jesus mentioned about treating neighbors. I think that this world, I've been so brainwashed with so many things, like planning everything, executing. If you think about it, it's not all about that. I think that heart should be in the right place.
Yes.
And I think it's a lot of the things that I learned and what's true is very contradicting. And so I think it's a daily bread. It's every day. We have to be open-minded, hear his voice, and trying to be more respectful. And sometimes that can be slower than your competitors or your other companies. But at the end, we wanted to build something that can really impact our students' lives. And so, yeah, just have to be patient and be humble and move forward, right?
Love it, brother. Well, listen, let me be the first viewer and listener to your episode and say thank you very much for all that you're doing in the world. You're shining a light. You're leaving the world a little bit of a better place every interaction you're making. And we'll do whatever we can here at the podcast to support you in that effort. So thank you so much. He is the amazing, the mighty, the powerful Scott Lee. I'm Jesse T. Be sure to catch us on next week's episode of The Jesse T Show.